Now that the chambers, or the doghouse section of the chambers is assembled, it's now time to get ready to assemble it to the top and bottom sections of the chamber. So what you're looking at here is the bottom, and basically what I've done is just marked out the woofer opening in the bottom, and for now I've just used a jigsaw to cut out the section around, and just sort of did a half decent job here. But if you look very carefully on here, hopefully this camera can pick it up, you'll see that I've just basically cut it inside the line a little bit. And what I'll do once I assemble it to the doghouse section afterwards and everything's lined up and so on and glued and nailed, I'll use my router with a flush trim bit just to make a nice even job. I could have used the router to cut this out, but there's always going to be some slight differences in each section, and so in order to avoid having misalignment and so forth between the two speakers, it's just easier to do it this way. Just cut it out, leave a little bit of room for trimming afterwards, and then I'll be able to make a nice flush, neat job with this section. So for the top section of the woofer chamber, I've just gone ahead and just trying to get this one ready. So I've gone ahead and attached the high frequency and mid-horn motor board to this section. And so as you can see here, I've just used these corner clamps to get everything ready, hold it in place while I was doing the assembly on both sides here. Just holds it at a nice 90-degree angle, and it's great when you're, especially if you're working by yourself, there's no way to hold this in place, and especially once the glue as it goes on there, it gets pretty greasy and slippery. And I just put a little bit of painter's tape across here just to mark my edge here so that I didn't inadvertently miss on any of my nailing, and I just kind of marked out the spacing here for the nailing. In mine, there's actually going to be, I'm going to actually end up having a little bit of trim on here. You'll see why later in the video, but even still, just in case, I've just marked out on the tape here. You can see I've just sort of evenly spaced out the nails, including one in the dead center, which will help me align everything a little bit when I'm putting this together. But basically just put a few nails in there, glued it, and this assembly is complete. If we go around to the back side of this section, you can also see that I have marked out drilled just some small pilot holes here for the horn itself and for the tweeter. And I did that in advance because, as you can see, there's not a lot of room here once this is assembled. The horn will actually fit in here pretty flush. So you're going to want to do this before you actually assemble this section. Of course, the other reason I'm doing this section now, or I'm attaching the motor board now, is it'll provide a little bit of a guide for when we're attaching the side panels to the speaker, and it'll help keep everything nice and aligned when I'm getting ready here for the final assembly of the cabinet. All right, so I'm getting ready to assemble the bottom section onto the doghouse woofer chamber section here. So you can just sort of see what I'm doing here. This is the bottom section. Just got it open up here. Now, it is critical that this be aligned properly and centered properly because it's basically going to form the structure for the sides and all that stuff of your cabinet. And if it's out of line, obviously that's going to create a problem later in terms of keeping everything square. And since this is all glued and so forth, once it's together, it's together forever. So this section is one that you're going to want to spend an appropriate amount of time making sure that everything is about perfect. So what I've done here is really been try to be precise in terms of my measurements. Measured the width of the cabinet, not on the deflector portion, but on the chamber portion itself, because these could be off just a hair, either way. They're going to be important in a sec, which I'll show you. But anyways, I've measured this, subtracted it from from the width of the section altogether, did the math or whatever, and found out exactly how to line these up towards center. On the front, once I've actually, before I go there, once I did that, I lined up the cabinet itself, made sure that these are completely flush. There's a little space there, but that's just because there's a slight bow in the bottom portion. When I'm nailed together, it'll be fine. And then I've marked, because these are going to be important for alignment when you actually go to assemble this piece. It'll be the other way around, obviously, and we'll be nailing through into the woofer chamber, but you won't be able to see inside of here. So now that these are my alignment points, but I've used these to mark on either side, so that when I assemble, these will be my guides to make sure that I've got it perfectly aligned. Now, sorry, I've also, on the front of this section, excuse me, I've also marked exactly where the front is, so that I've got an alignment point to the peak of the doghouse section here as well. So when all of those things are perfectly aligned, then I'll be good to go to nail. Now, what I'm going to do as well is I'll mark out nailing lines on the other side of this, and just to make sure, because obviously it'll be blind as I'm nailing that, just to make sure that I don't inadvertently drive a nail out through the side of the chamber or something like that. So basically that's how we do the alignment, and we'll come back in a sec, and I'll show you some other pieces that I'm doing here to make sure this thing is as perfect as possible. Okay, I'm putting my markings on the nailing side of the bottom of the woofer chamber, and as I'm making the markings here, I'll just basically show you what I've done and point out something that is an easy mistake to make if you're doing this yourself. I almost did it myself, and as a matter of fact, I did do it. I just caught it before any damage was done. So basically you measure out the outside of the doghouse section, and distance from the back, distance from the side, length of this section, so forth. But here's where it's easy to make the mistake. So when you make the point, where the point lines up at the front part of the bottom section, the temptation is to draw your line from here to here, which would be incorrect, because of course this roof section, the sloped section, actually meets up with this section on the inside. And so so this is an easy mistake to make, but if you did this, all of a sudden you'd be putting a nail in here and boom, you'd miss. So this is really important, just to take your time and do it right. What I did here, just to make sure I got the thickness right, I just used a scrap piece of the 3/4 plywood, just to draw the inside sections and so on, so that I've got something that's exactly the same thickness, so that I've got this section marked out, and barring something unforeseen, I should not miss any of my nail shots. So I'm getting ready to attach the bottom section, and just got everything lined up here, just doing a bit of just a test fit, just to make sure everything lines up as I expect it to. You'll see that I've got these clamps here attached. And the reason for that is there was a slight bow outward in the chamber at the front of this area versus the back. And so obviously I want to make sure that these sides are perfectly parallel when I attach it to the bottom section, so that they're perfectly parallel with the sides once those are attached. And obviously when you're fitting all this stuff together in the beginning, it's virtually impossible to get it exactly correct. It's very close, but there was a slight difference there. So I've just attached a couple of clamps here just to make sure it's pulled in just to the perfect amount, so that when I attach the bottom will hold everything in place, and it'll be perfect. On that end, I'll double check it obviously when I'm going to do the other side as well, and just to make sure that everything is perfectly parallel and square. One other thing, I used more or less regular construction glue when I was attaching all the other pieces and assembling everything. For this section, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to use PL Premium. And I've actually used PL Premium inside some of these sections here and just sealed everything up with it. But the main reason I'm using this one is A, it's incredibly strong, but B, it's a little thicker. It's a polyurethane adhesive. And because there's a lot of, joins here and everything, there's some imperfections, even though on the surface of the woofer chamber, as I attach it to this flat section, there's just some slight imperfections all the way along. I did the best I could with it, but this is a little bit thicker paste. It expands a little bit like most polyurethane adhesives do, and it'll fill in any potential voids or anything that might be there. I don't think there'll be much, to be honest, but just in case. And that'll make sure that I've got a really tight, airtight seal on the chamber, which of course is important for any horn-loaded speaker. So I'll be using this one, and I think this will do the job just great. The other advantage of using this is that it doesn't run, and of course, as I'm doing this, there's a lot going on. I really don't want to have glue running down all over the sides of this part here and potentially cause me a problem when I go to stain and finish this thing. So I think the PL will do great, and we'll see how this turns out. And here we are with the bottom section attached. You can see just that little dark area there is just I used some mineral spirits to clean off the excess PL Premium. I've just done that all the way around. I basically used just a little stick, a little wedge, just to scrape out most of the excess, and then the mineral spirits just to clean it up. And so you can see all the way around here we've got a good join. Here's the back section. Everything lined up real well. If we just take a look inside, you can see, hopefully you can see, we just got a nice bead of excess PL Premium all the way around, just creating that nice seal inside the woofer chamber. And I'm looking this out, and I know I cut this with a jigsaw. It's honestly, I did a good job here. I may or may not go around this with the flush trim bit. I may just leave that slight little lip there because it creates a good seal. There's really no need. Other than cosmetic, there's no real need to do any further trimming on this. So I may just leave it there. I'll decide that a little later on. And now we're going to do the other side. So I've got the top just test fitted in there again, and everything seems to line up pretty well for the most part. There's a slight adjustment again that I want to make before nailing, which is why again I have these clamps on here just to pull it in. It's like a 1/16 of an inch or something like that. It's not a big amount, but I just want to make sure that it is taken care of before I nail it, and have it, as I said before, perfectly square. So you can see that the speaker is now really starting to take shape. So once I get this, once I get the top on here, pretty much we're home free for the balance of the other construction. One little complexity left to do at the rear, but basically we're almost home free. So I'll get on with this and show you the result here in a second. I'd be remiss if I didn't own up to my own mistakes as I was working through this. So I said at the beginning of this there'd be some surprises. So here's one. I pointed out earlier in the video an area to be careful in order to avoid a mistake when you're assembling the bottom or top or whatever of the woofer chamber, and of course I found a new way to make a mistake. So if you can't come over here, you'll see the aftermath of my mistake. So as I was marking this line right here, or this section right here, I inadvertently went to the outside, outside of the mark instead of the inside of the mark, and didn't realize that, of course, because with the front piece on here, just never noticed the point. Never noticed the lines not coming to a point, I guess, out here. And so, of course, full speed ahead with the nailing, and none the wiser until afterwards when I saw, when I turned it over and saw that I had shot through on the bottom with some of these nails. Now, it looks pretty bad here at the moment, but it actually really isn't all that bad. And the main reason I'm showing you this at this point is not to fret. If you're doing this project on your own, you're probably going to make a mistake or two along the way, but for the most part, this is wooden construction, and the beauty of working with wood is it's a pretty forgiving material. So you know, most issues that you're going to run into are going to be fixable quite bluntly with a little bit of wood filler or what have you, or a little bit of sanding or whatever. So I'm 100% confident that when I'm done here, this will be completely invisible. No one will ever know the difference except for me and you guys if you watch this video. But yeah, errors do happen. The one thing to remember on this one, so this little error was purely cosmetic. Corrected right away. Nothing that's going to have any impact on the performance of the mid bass horn or anything like that. So purely a cosmetic issue, easily fixed, and on to the next step. All right, the top and bottom are now fully assembled. Everything lined up real well, sealed up real well. The PL Premium worked excellent for this project, for this part of the project, and did exactly as I had intended it to do. Everything is just absolutely perfectly square and solid and sturdy. You can just see here, just again, my all my nailing, just give you an idea of how much I put in there. Again, all fastened with PL Premium underneath. I just drew out the nailing lines. Be real careful with these. This is into the deflector. I use shorter nails here to go directly in here. You could attempt to try to do this on an angle. Truthfully, I don't recommend it. What I did here is I clamped this for a bit and just nailed in here, and that seems to have worked real well. Even with the shorter nails, I pushed out a little bit on the bottom on a couple, so I just tapped it in and filled it, which, you know, was no problem. But this one could give you fits if you're not careful with it. So, but basically that's it. You know, this is one of those parts of the project that is really tedious to do and measure everything and make sure everything is perfect. But honestly, this is your project in a nutshell. So If you are doing this yourself and you've gotten to this part, give yourself a pat on the back, honestly, because this is absolutely it's downhill from here. So I'm looking forward to the remainder. This wasn't fun. Of course, I've had to do this twice, but definitely feeling pretty good about getting to the finish line on this one now.